We want retros was the war cry for many years. Well, 2022, we got them. So today we're going to count down my top 10 favorite retro style wrestling figures of 2022.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another year-end top 10 countdown list as we celebrate the best of 2022 here on the channel. And today, we want retros is the war cry, and we're counting down my top 10 favorite wrestling figure retro style figures of 2022. Now, I say retro, we're talking the Hasbro style figures. And as I said earlier, we want retros was the war cry for a long, long time. Well, be careful what you wish for, as I've heard from a lot of collectors there that are walking back some of their love for the retros and saying, you know, maybe I don't need them, because right now, currently, we're seeing Mattel, we're seeing Zombie Sailor, we're seeing Hastel Toys, we're seeing Rush Collectibles, we're seeing some other creators out there making retro style figures. So there is a lot going to the market right now, and finances, inflation affecting all this, and some of these figures, $40 to $50 for a little retro is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. And we have seen another retro kind of sweep the nation. We're talking about the He-Man Masters Universe style figures. Now, we're seeing the WWE Superstars line as the Walmart exclusive. We've seen the Masters of WWE Universe, and then we've seen the He-Man style figures, and now we got Asylum Toys coming to the market with figures like that. So there's a lot of retro wrestling type figures going on. We're even seeing the ECW style OSFTM figures making a comeback. So there is a lot going on, and is there enough dollars to support all these retro lines? I do have a gut feeling next year, but this time next year, we're going to have a whole different kind of a top 10 list for retros. It might even be down to a top 5 list, because not all these companies are going to be able to survive. So it's going to be a very, very interesting 2023 in the world of retros. But here, today, we're going to talk about the 2022 year that was with the retro style figures. And of course, as always, this is my list. Put your list in the comments down below and start at number 10, work your way to number 1. Number 1, of course, being the best one of the year. So without further ado, let's kick it off and let's talk about the number 10 retro style figure of the year. All right, we kick off the retro countdown at number 10. And number 10, we go to Cella Toys. Of course, Cella Toys now in 2023 transitioning over to Wrestling Trader. But for this video, I'll probably still call them Cella Toys until we get used to that Wrestling Trader name. But Cella Toys, of course, one of the ones outside of Mattel that really started the retro boom, and Zombie Sailor being the other one there, and they brought us a classic. And if you were a fan of ECW back in the day, or FMW, or any of that in between, you knew this guy back in the 90s. Unfortunately, no longer with us anymore, but very cool to get him in retro style form. And I hope Wrestling Trader in the future brings him to the uncensored line. Who are we talking about? We're talking about my friend and yours. We're talking about Hayabusa, the regular edition. Now, there was a chase version or an alternate version, whatever you want to call it, in blue, but I went with the red at number 10 here. Now, he is a jumper. I'm not a huge jumper guy, but I've always wanted a Hayabusa figure in some kind of scale, and I believe we've had others in the past of some foreign import ones, but this is the first one I have had my hands on here. But the red is very fitting here. Of course, jumper position, no action on these Cella Toys, but man, it's Hayabusa. It looks like Hayabusa, and I love the detailing of the scars here. The scars moved into the skin and into the part of the sculpt there, which is really, really cool. It's just not a painted on scar. It is sculpted in, and that is a nice touch that I really do appreciate. Love a good mask, you guys know, and like I said, Hayabusa, a big deal. His matches with Sabu and RVD, with Jinsei Shinsaki back in the day in ECW was quite the deal, or Hakushi, depending how you know him. But I really, really did like getting this one. I was a day one pre-order on both versions of him. Very happy to get him in 2022. So there it is, Hayabusa, Cella Toys at number 10. All right, we've come to the number 9 spot in our retro countdown, and the number 9 pick here, I name dropped in number 10. So number 9, who is it? Well, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys. We go to one of Hayabusa's opponents over the years. We go to Sabu, and much like Hayabusa, we are getting 2 versions of Sabu, as we do have a New York Comic Con exclusive coming, let's call it February, let's call it March, something like that. But this is Zombie Sailor Toys Series 1 Sabu. I really do like this figure. Anytime I get an ECW original like Sabu, brings me back to my glory days of my ECW fandom as a kid. So I really do like getting this Sabu here. I love that we get the removable headdress on him. I love the one pointing finger. He loves the Usos like everybody else, or he's pointing to the sky. Got the Sabu on the wrist, or on the bicep, I should say, which always looks really good. And then much like Hayabusa, we got the scars detailed into the figure, but they take one step further to Zombie Sailor Toys compared to Cella Toys, where we get some highlights of the color to really bring out these scars really good. Just all around fabulous. This might be a little bit higher on my list, maybe not too much, but he is, out of all the retros we've had this year, I would say he is the hardest one to stand. So I hope going forward, Zombie makes figures that always can stand without some help, as I put a little sticky tack on one of the feet down here just to make sure he doesn't fall over, as he is a little bit top heavy and his legs kind of just a little wonky. We'll call him wonky, but he does look really good. I can't wait to get the blue one. Love some Sabu. Bring us some more ECW characters to the line, Zombie Sailor. But Sabu, he's coming in on the list here, and he's coming in at number 9. All right, we're at the number 8 spot of the countdown, and number 8 is something a lot of people have been clamoring for many years. Funnily, strangely enough, when I was a little kid, it never crossed my mind that I would need a character like this, or even want a character like this in my Hasbro playing days. I don't know, I guess we're all a little bit different sometime, including myself. But who are we talking about at number 8? Well, we go back to Zombie Sailor Toys. We go to referee Earl Hebner, and Earl Hebner are going to get an Asylum figure in 2023, but 2022 was the year for Zombie Sailor. We got a referee in the retro style, and it makes sense. We need this, but it's funny, like I said, when I was a kid, never once thought about needing a referee figure. Maybe I was just different. I don't know what the deal was going on there, but I do like this one here. It is cool to get a referee figure. Very iconic. One of the most iconic referees of the last 40 years, honestly, is Earl Hebner. Could be possibly the most famous referee of all time. Really have to sit and think about that one. Maybe it's a future top 5 list. The top 5 most famous referees of all time. But I really do like this. It does get Baby Earl and back in his old school WWF persona with the old shirt and stuff. Looks really good. A little bit smaller figure. Got the hand count hand that is key. You got the 2 count hand here. Now, one thing for the first time ever with retro style figures, we got a removable hand with this one. So very cool little gimmick nature to this. I really do appreciate that attention to detail. Just an all around very good figure. One I didn't know I really needed until it came. Very cool addition to the Zombie Sailor toy line. So much so, it came in at number 8 in my top 10 countdown. All right, we're at the number 7 spot in our countdown here, and number 7 comes from Mattel. Of course, Mattel, the biggest company currently making retros, and we're getting seemingly 4 packs at a time, and now Ringside Collectibles giving us an NWO 4-pack as well coming up in 2023. So Mattel full speed ahead with some retros and giving us some characters we missed out on back in the day. Now, this character, we didn't miss out, but this is the version we always wanted back in the day. And who am I talking about? We're talking about that old Anvil. We're talking about Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The pink and black attack, of course, Heart Foundation version of Jim Neidhart. Now, we did get high energy, or not high energy, the cab connection where they were riding his cab, but we did get one back in the day with the Hasbros that matched an Owen Hart. So you could get a little bit of tag team going on, but as a kid, I really wanted Jim Neidhart to match Bret Hart. And we do know that Bret Hart figure had a very giant-sized head, and Jim Neidhart's head was very small, so they looked very strange together. But you know, we still made it work. We were kids. We didn't know any better. But to get a Jim Neidhart after all these years that works from the Heart Foundation is a pretty cool thing. Now, we did get a Bret Hart, an updated Bret Hart that matched this one. That was pretty cool, and I actually have that one right here. I guess we'll stick them together. So it's cool to get Heart Foundation as a tag team finally after all these years. It is really cool. You can have them finally squaring off against Demolition, the Bushwhackers, the Head Shrinkers, the Rockers, Legion of Doom, the Nasty Boys, Akeem and the Big Boss Man, the Natural Disasters, IRS and Teddy DiBiase, to name a few. But very cool, and I was very happy to get this version of Jim Neidhart after all these years. So Jim Neidhart coming in hot at number 7. All right, we're at the number 6 spot in our countdown here, and once again, we go to Cella Toys, and we take a trip across the ocean, at least for me, maybe not all you guys. We're going to take our trip across the ocean to the UK wrestling scene, and who are we talking about coming in at number 6? Well, we're talking about Big Daddy. Shirley Crabtree himself gets an action figure. And I believe one of you UK guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is this his first ever action figure? It might be. At least it's the first one I've ever owned. And I do think this is really cool figure to get. Now that Wrestling Trader, as we're going to talk about, owns, of course, the Cella now, could we get an uncensored Big Daddy? I would love the idea of that. And I think that is really cool, is because to a whole generation and a whole audience of part of the world, this was a big deal. Big Daddy was a tremendous deal. Very Hulkamania-esque. I know it seems hard to believe to some people, and I've talked before, even in the review of this one, as a little kid, checking out at like my local video store and even my library, getting UK VHS tapes to watch. When you're a little kid in the 80s, you'll take any wrestling you can find, and that's exactly what I had to do, and that was my first time ever seeing him, and definitely British wrestling was a little bit different than the Hulkamania era for sure. But a very cool one, soft goods, a removable hat, big figure. There is a lot to like about this one, even if you don't know who Big Daddy is. And I know who he is. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know enough to be dangerous. And this is exactly what I wanted out of Cella Toys. I really do like this one, so much so, he's coming in at number 6. All right, we're at the halfway spot in the countdown here. Do you got your list together? Make sure you put it in the comments down below. And of course, make sure you like this video. It always helps the channel, as you guys know. But number 5, once again, we're seeing a theme here. We're going back to Cella Toys. And who are we going to? Well, we're going to the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, first edition. A fabulous figure, and much like the Hayabusa and some of the others, we did get a variant. I did pick that up. I did unbox it on the channel, so you can check that one out too if you want to, if you got nothing else to do. But this one, a little bit more iconic than the red-geared alternate version, and with the mustache, the old pencil-thin mustache going on. This one, he's got the cape, he's got the bulldog. This is the one you're going to pair with your British Bulldog Hasbro figure. Just all around very cool. And we have seen at the very end of 2022 here, Cella Toys Uncensored line, we got our British Bulldog version of the Dynamite Kid as well. So a good year in action figure form for the Dynamite Kid this year. I have 3 figures, and who knows, more to come. I guess even if you count the Junk Shop dog figures, I mean, we might have 5 Dynamites with all the variants and everything. So what a year for old Dynamite Kid this year. But this one, great posability. I think it looks good enough for what it is, knowing the limitations of the retro style figure. Soft, good cape. It is cape season after all. We know Lando. He's been bringing us into cape season all the time. And then you also get a Bulldog, which is another really nice touch here that we didn't get with the Hasbro figure back in the day. So of Dynamite Kid, or I shouldn't say Dynamite, of British Bulldog back in the day with Hasbro. So a lot to like on this one. A really, really good representation. And I'm happy I picked it up. And I'm so happy I have it, I put him at number 5 in my top 10 list. All right, we continue on, and we're at the number 4 spot in our countdown, and this is really the British wrestling aspect of the countdown video here, as at number 4, we're going once again to Cella Toys. We are going to Giant Haystacks. Another one, first time in the line, first figure I've ever had of Giant Haystacks. Some of you guys may know him from his brief stint in WCW as Loch Ness. What a name on him. Everybody loves the Loch Ness Monster. But Giant Haystacks, another big one. Of course, Big Daddy and him feuding. Can you imagine those 2 big dudes in the ring going after it? Man, it's like the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan on a different level, I guess. But love the soft goods on this one again. Love the big, meaty figure. I love big figures. You guys know that one. And Giant Haystacks doesn't get too much bigger in the retro line from Cella so far. So very, very cool. Of course, there's a variant like we're seeing with a lot of these different Cellas. But I really did like this one a heck of a lot more than I expected to. Just very, very cool. Just a really awesome time to be a wrestling fan if you're in the UK, to be able to get these guys after all these years. And sometimes, even if you don't know the character a ton, and like I said, just like Big Daddy, I know enough to be dangerous, I really did get a lot of enjoyment out of this one. I think it looks really cool. It displays really cool. So cool, in fact, he's number 4 on my top 10 list. All right, we're at the number 3 spot in the countdown. We're getting dangerously close to the end. And for number 3, we return once again to Zombie Sailor Toys. And Zombie, really the gold standard for retros. I guess arguably you could say Mattel, but I think Mattel and Zombie are 1 and 2 as far as name recognition and getting out there. Now, Cella Toys, Wrestling Trader, whatever, they are coming on strong. We'll see what happens in 2023. But Zombie Sailor doing a lot of good stuff that we've seen all year on the channel as we've unboxed all the figures, as you guys know, and we'll continue to in 2023. But number 3, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys. We go to a guy that's no stranger to action figures, being action figures of himself or collecting action figures. We're talking about Matt Cardona. Yes, old Matt Cardona. He is always ready, and I really do like this one here. Now, he has a perfect He has a perfect look to him for Zombie Sailor. I love the crouching position with the Ultimate Warrior number 2. We're not going to call it Hulk No Hogan number 1. We're going to call it the Ultimate Warrior number 2 type positioning. Of course, we do know there is no action feature on the Zombie Sailor toys, but it looks really good. I think this works for him. I love the head sculpt, the head scan. The hair in the beard is where it really puts this one over the edge. I think they did a phenomenal job, and I think possibly the best hair and best beard that we've seen in retro style figures ever. Yeah, I'm going to go that far here. He does look really good here. I love his kind of highlighted colors to him as well. You got the silver, the purple, the blue, a little bit metallic going on. Just a really, really good toyetic look here. Of course, the white wrist tape going throughout. Just a very good looking figure. And of course, there was no doubt we were going to get the major players in the Zombie Sailor lines. We know they're affiliated with Zombie. They've been friends for a long time. And this really, really does work for me. Unfortunately, Brian Myers, I would like to put him in the list. Spoiler alert, he's not in my list. Not a big jumper guy, as you guys know, but I think there was some work that needed to be done on that head sculpt a little bit to make it. But Matt Cardona's head sculpt, Matt Cardona's figure, truly awesome, truly next level. Coming in at number 3 in my top 10 countdown. All right, we're at the final 2, and number 2, once again, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys. We're seeing a little bit of a theme here. Zombie Sailor coming in hot and getting something done that never was done before. And this is one of those guys that has been one of the biggest travesties in wrestling history as far as action figures go. He should have had an LJN. He should have had a Hasbro. He should have had a classic superstar. He should have had a Mattel Legend. He should have had an action figure somewhere before this. But here it is, the first ever figure we have ever received of 80s legend, 80s superstar, Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo, one of those guys in the 80s WWF that you didn't think was going to be world champion, but would fight real hard for the Intercontinental, or maybe in a tag team match with Earthquake. And you know he would put up a fight, and he was one of the stalwarts of 80s WWF. And to finally get him after all these years is a little bit of a travesty, but I'm happy to report Zombie Sailor did a heck of a job on this Dino Bravo, bringing this to market. Just a fabulous, fabulous version of the Canadian Strongman, I believe out of Montreal, if I am not mistaken. I really, really like this Dino Bravo. Now, I can see him not being on everybody's list because maybe you don't know Dino Bravo, maybe you didn't have an affiliation with Dino Bravo, whatever it is. Maybe he's too plain Jane for you. I don't know. But as being a little kid and seeing Dino Bravo every week on Wrestling Challenge, Prime Time, Superstars, whatever it may have been, it's just a trip down memory lane, and a guy that is, like I said, criminally underrated in the action figure department. And I hope one of these days we get a Mattel Elite style figure of Dino Bravo, because man, we need him in our collection. And I think a lot of you guys of a certain age would really agree with that one for sure. So coming in at number 2, the Zombie Sailor, Dino Bravo. All right, the time has come. We're at the number 1 spot in our countdown of the top 10 retro figures of 2022. Do you got your list together? Did you put it in the comments down below? Make sure you do that. And of course, while you're here, give a thumbs up to this video. It really helps the channel. And subscribe to this video, and subscribe to this channel, because we got videos every single day, including a ton of best of lists to close off the year. And all the winners of all these different best of videos are going to go to one big video where we finally figure out what is the best action figure of 2022. So stay tuned for that, coming sooner than later. So now here it is, drum roll, we're at the number 1 spot. What is the number 1 retro style figure of 2022? Well, to me, once again, we go to Zombie Sailor Toys. And this one, if it would have came about a week later, it wouldn't even have been on the list, as this one was the best retro of 2022 that I have received. And who are we talking about? You know who it is. It's that old Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Now, Jeff Jarrett, his, I guess, debut WWF type attire here, the old orange card that never happened, that never came to realization. We finally got it after all these years. And I gotta tell you, this is Dynamite. Perfect posing, perfect look, perfect action as far as the arm and sculpting on this one. Just an all-around perfect rendition of this time frame for Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if it was worth the wait. I was a little frustrated waiting about a year and a half, but all good things go to those that wait, I guess, as they always say. So it was very cool to get this one now. I got to think this is going to be one of the most valuable Zombie Sailor figures, because it was a one-off only for San Diego Comic-Con 2021. It was a long pre-order. Not sure how many were made, and we do know with Zombie Sailor, as the sets go on and on, as the name gets out there more, he's going to be making more figures. But the first few sets and exclusives, going to be pretty rare, I would imagine. And this Jeff Jarrett, just an absolute slam dunk. Very happy we got this one here to close out 2022. And man, he's lucky, but he made it just barely as the #1 retro figure of 2022. So there it is, the top 10 retros of 2022. Remember, put your list in the comments down below. Of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. You can get early access to this video, many other videos, much, much earlier than traditional YouTube. You get bonus content, exclusive content, Q&As, giveaways, you name it. Best of all, you do support the channel. You can also support the channel at ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson, and don't forget about social media. SirPaul64 is where you're going to find me on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So, for the top 10 retros of 2022, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.